This is Aiemann Zahabi, and you're watching The Game Plan.
Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for sportsboom.com and the Game Plan, and I'm happy to be joined by my guest who's surging up the rankings in the UFC bantamweight division. He is Canada's own, Montreal's own, Aiemann Zahabi. How you doing, Aiemann?
I feel amazing, man. Thanks for having me on.
And Aiemann, you're coming off a big win there at UFC Vancouver against Marlon Chito Vera. Can you just take us back to the fight of, it was back and forth there with yourself edging him out on the scorecard. So
Yeah.
what was your experience like there?
Yeah, no, I felt great. When round one finished, I was pretty certain I won it. He backed up to the fence 6 times. I never backed up to the fence. I landed double the strikes. I felt very good. I felt like I had good momentum. Round two, when I got dropped, I was like, oh man, I gotta climb this mountain all over again, just like with Aldo. And then my arm broke in the second, and then I ended up rallying, and I even outstruck him in the worst round for me. I still outstruck him. I still found a way to dig deep. And I found it interesting that like when he headbutted me after the second round, I had all the momentum going into the third, and I was hungrier than him. Even though I guess I don't know if he tried to punk me or try to get me emotional. I still feel like I took round three over.
Yeah, and like just for yourself, like what's it like in those type of situations? Like, were you aware that maybe it was a little too close? Like, did you think you were
No,
down around, or like did that
I
affect you?
no, I didn't think the fight was close because I felt very confident that I won the first. I had no doubt when I
Yeah.
was going the second that I won the first. The second round, I had no doubt I lost it. So then I knew it was all up to the third round, and I don't think anybody wants it more than me. And I know like Marlon, he's supposed to be like the top round three guy, but then I proved to everybody that I'm a monster in round three, and my hunger really shows out in the third round, and I'm willing to go take it if I have to, and I feel like he didn't press on the gas as much as I did in the third. So I felt very comfortable going into the judges' scorecard, and I feel like I landed much more than him in the third.
And you mentioned there about your arm, like injury
Yeah.
wise, like are you doing well after this?
Yeah, so I messaged to my doctor after the fight when I got back to my hotel. I was like, I think my arm's broken. It keeps clicking. I'm like, I might need surgery. He's like, okay, don't eat anything after Sunday midnight. He's like, I'll squeeze you in on Monday. I had a cancellation, so I'll squeeze you in on Monday. I said, perfect, man. And then, so we put a steel plate in there, and I'm just waiting to be healed enough to get back to training.
Is this going to be like a long-term
No, it
layoff for
shouldn't
you, or do
be.
you think?
Yeah, it shouldn't be too long. I should be getting to the swing of things before the new year. So I'm hoping, like it's not too bad. But I got my I have to get my checkup done now on December 3rd to follow up. Now my first checkup was this week, and it went really good. Everything is going good according to plan. No infections, because they cut me open obviously to put the plate inside. So they have to make sure that there's no infection in the wound, nothing has damaged the plate or whatever, nothing's moved. So everything came out good. Now I'm just waiting for my next appointment, December 3rd, and then we'll see when I can do 100% training.
It's great to hear. Happy to hear
Yeah.
that. And also after that fight, you had a big call out there. Sean
Yeah.
O'Malley, you're aiming there for the former champ. So
Yeah.
have you heard anything of if this could be a possibility for your next fight?
No, I didn't hear anything yet back, except for that Sean O'Malley reacted to it. So I think that's great. I think that's a really good positive. The last guy he beat was Marlon.
Yeah.
And when Marlon fought him for the belt, Sean O'Malley was the champion. He was C, right? He's a champ. Then Marlon was number six. If now I'm number seven and Sean O'Malley was number one, it's the same difference. There's no difference in jump, right? So I don't know. A lot of people think it's crazy, but it's not. It's not unheard of, that kind of jump. And then what was cool was a week later after my call out, Umar wins, becomes number one contender, and he calls me out for a title eliminator. So like I'm in the mix. My call out made sense, and it's nice to that I like that Umar called me out because like it just gave my call out of Sean O'Malley legitimacy, and now people are gonna realize, oh man, I'm one fight away from the belt.
Yeah. And also like your career, like since 2019, you've really hit your stride there, and you're 37 years of age now. A lot of fighters, once they're that age, are at the tail end of your career. You're experiencing
Yeah,
a surge up the rankings at this point in your
yeah.
career. So like, what do you attribute that to be able to defy the odds here at beat like top quality opponents and go into the title picture?
Well, I attribute it to, like Frost's methods of training smart, not hard. We try not to beat up the body and have too much mileage on our body. It's all about longevity, and being able to still do it in a later age. Plus, it takes so much time to master one of the facets of fighting. Because, fighting is three facets. It's the striking, it's the wrestling, and it's the grappling on the ground. Becoming a master at one is like a lifetime of works, and then to be comparable at the others too, it takes 10 years, man. So you're not going to be just good off the bat. You're not going to be great. And like, in my opinion, MMA is different from other sports in the sense that with a lot of experience and mastery at the different facets, you can slow the fight down and play where you have the advantage. Whereas in the other sports like speed, agility, strength, the physical attributes and the reaction speed takes more precedent over the maneuverability of the game, So I feel like in MMA, that's the one advantage that we can fight later on because if you have some sort of mastery, you can stay in the game. And then there are some players in the other sports like NFL, NBA who get to play later. Like, Tom Brady is a great example who played very late in age, and there's a lot of wide receivers who've played late in age, but those are the best of the best, the cream of the crop. Even in boxing, like Bernard Hopkins won a world title, I think, at 48 years old. So and boxing is a game of speed and reaction time as well. But if you're a master, you can manipulate time, you can manipulate distance, you can do those things, and it shows your wisdom as a fighter, as a martial artist. And I feel like that's kind of the route I went down, was I tried to master the sport and not get by on physical attributes.
And what was it like being the Canadian hero there? Because you're the guy everyone's rooting for. You're the one that everybody's there to see, rooting on a fellow Canadian in that spot. Like, does that add a lot more pressure when you're going in there and you're fighting somebody else who's on enemy territory and looking to spoil
It
your
was funny you
partner?
say that because Chito got a much louder pop than me in Vancouver. A little bit surprising. Even though I was in, there, I was like, "Wow, that's cool." He's even more popular than me in Canada. But that's why I told everyone before the fight. I'm like, I'm coming for everything they have. The money, the fame, whatever they got, I'm coming for. I'm coming to take it. And by the end of the fight, when I actually not even the end of the fight, in the middle of the fight, when I got dropped. And I came back at the end of the second. I feel like I converted all the Cheeto fans in the arena to Zahabi fans, and we stopped hearing the Cheeto chants after when I came back in the second. And I really feel like they were happy to see me win. And sometimes it takes that drama to really change people's minds to realize that I ain't no pushover and I'm hungry. And I feel like people like a dog, people like a guy who goes out there to take it, puts it all out on the line. And it was funny, like watching it back. You hear DC and Paul Felder who said, like in the middle of round three, they're like, they've got to both lay it out on the line. They've got to both leave everything in there. And I feel like I did that. And I feel like maybe he didn't push himself to that extreme that I pushed myself in the third. And I feel like that gave me the edge for round three.
And I guess you're probably the best person to ask this because you fought in Vancouver, but you also fought in Montreal. Like,
Yeah.
what's the difference between the two? Like, did you feel more
Yeah.
nervous fighting in Montreal?
No, no. The wear doesn't make any difference for me in terms of nerves because, we don't know if the outcome is going to be good or bad till the fight's over. You know what I mean? It's like you really got to go out there and find out. It was funny because when I was doing interviews before the Montreal show, everyone's like, "How excited are you to be fighting in Montreal? Isn't it gonna be the best night of your life?" I'm like, "Wait a second, oh, it may be the best night of my life, but it can also be the most embarrassing night of my life." Until I go out there and it happens, you don't know if I'm gonna slip on a banana peel and get embarrassed. Like things happen in there that are out of your control. But in the end, like it was weird because like there was the weight miss by 8 pounds by Aldo. And then I get dropped. I get knee to the head, soccer kick 2 times, come back, this and that. The whole drama of it. Then it ended up becoming the greatest night of my life. And then I feel like I had another great night with Marlon. But what I will say is there was no louder fans that I've experienced than Montreal fans. It was deafening in there. Like when I got on top of Aldo and I cut him open with that elbow, I could hear nothing. Frost and GSP were screaming. I could see them with my eyes, but their lips were moving, but I couldn't hear a sound they were making. It was so incredibly loud, and I love the Montreal fans for that. It's a very nice place to fight. Edmonton's great. Vancouver's great. All over Canada, I've had good experiences, but none of them are as loud as Montreal.
And that night too, as you talk about like everything you went through, especially the soccer kicks. I think Jose
Yeah,
Aldo thought he was in pride that night with the soccer
yeah.
kicks. But
Yeah.
what was it like to know after the fact that you're going to be known as the last opponent, the guy that ended Jose Aldo's legendary career?
For me, I think that's huge because, in my opinion, he's one of the greatest of all time, and he deserves that title. As you know, especially for featherweight, he's the greatest of all time in featherweight, in my opinion. And people are always gonna want to watch his fights, and they're gonna start backwards, man. They're not necessarily gonna start always from the front. They're gonna want to see how did he finish and whatever. And I'm always gonna be watched. And if the UFC is gonna be playing that on cable TV, man, I think the royalties are gonna be coming this way. So I'm hoping it's gonna be good for me too in the future. But I really feel like it's just gonna be one of those fights that a lot of people are gonna see over time.
It's great. And you mentioned GSP there and your brother Faraz. Like
Yep.
GSP, what he's done for Canadian MMA. Personally, I got a chance to interview him in the past. Great guy. What's he like in the gym with some of the younger fighters coming up? And maybe how has he been an impact on your career?
Oh, he's incredible. George is the same now as when I first met him when I was 16 years old, 22 years ago. Uh, Even if you're a new member and JSP comes to class, like let's say JSP's coming to do jiu-jitsu or the striking class or whatever MMA class, he'll partner up with you even if it's your first day at TriStar, man. It's crazy. Like it's incredible, Like he obviously doesn't do the beginner class, but if you go to the advanced class or it's your first time at TriStar and you're in the advanced class, you might be partner up with JSP. That's how humble he is. He doesn't mind to train with anybody. Like he's incredible. And like he even sometimes he'll teach the beginner class for us. Like he loves giving back to the community. He obviously his background, he originated in karate. A lot of people know that. And humility is taught in karate in that sense. And they're always preaching to give back to the next generation. So GSP carries that till this day. Like he loves teaching, he loves helping out the younger guys, he loves helping out even guys who are beginner, not necessarily like UFC level guys. He'll help guys who are like white belts, blue belts, purple belts. He doesn't only like hang out with the black belts. Some people they only hang out with the top of the top in the gym. He's not one of those guys. So I try to be like him. I try to help everybody. I feel like I like to carry the team on my back in a sense too. Like I'm always very supportive of everyone. And obviously, beyond that, George still supports guys like me who are at the top. Like he made time to come out and be in my corner for the Montreal the Bell Center. So I really appreciate him for that.
That's great. And your division, in my opinion, like bantamweight has made a strong argument for being probably the most stacked in the sport right now. When you see the top 10, even the top 15 and other promotions as top five. So when you see Marab doing what he's doing as somebody who's chasing that title, like, are you in awe a bit at times or like, does it put more motivation in you to want to get that title fight?
Well, it makes it exciting because he's doing half the job for me, and it makes it more likely that I fight for the belt in 2026 because he's gonna run out of opponents, man.
Yeah.
And he's beat some of these guys before, and the fights weren't that exciting. So maybe UFC is gonna want to put new blood, new faces at the title just to change it up. Maybe somebody else could beat him. Maybe somebody else has a better chance. Maybe somebody else could figure out the equation. And that's why like I've been trying to put on these entertaining fights, and I'm trying to make myself a fun guy to watch. The fights are close, they're entertaining. We get the fans and the crowd involved. They're cheering both sides. So I'm hoping that I'm considered, and I would definitely do everything I can to win if I get that opportunity.
And he has a fight coming up again on
Yeah,
like four times this year. So he's fighting Peter Yan
yeah.
next month, final pay-per-view of the year. So what are your thoughts on that matchup again? And do you think it could be a similar result as last time?
I definitely think Marab can win. But I think now that he's fought so much and so often, he has so much more tape on him. I think he's a winner for sure. He's gonna build his path to victory. He's gonna find a way to win. But Peter Yan is brilliant too. Like he's fought some of the best as well, and he's been champion before. He said his right hand was compromised the first time around. So like now if I when I rewatch that fight, I'm like, oh man, he's right. Like, he didn't use his right hand as much, so like he's not telling a lie, right? You know, like some people were like, oh wait, that's questionable. Maybe he's lying, maybe, or whatever. But if you go back and watch, do you realize, oh wait, he didn't use it that much? And in my opinion, I think it's easier for let's say like Marab to take down a Corey Sandhagen and a Sean O'Malley because they're so much taller than him. It's easier for him to have access to their hips. Whereas with a Peter Yan, guys who are short, close to Marab's height, he has a harder time taking them down, and they have a better chance of defending the takedown and things like that. And I feel like he did defend the takedowns better than the taller opponents, in my opinion, Peter Yan. So I feel like it's gonna be a much closer fight than it was with Sean O'Malley, Corey Sandhagen. I think because the height plays a factor, and if his right hand was compromised, Peter Yan, this fight will be even better than the first time they fought. So I think they both have a great chance to win, and that's why I'm gonna be there. December 6th to watch. It's a fight you guys nobody should miss. UFC bantamweight title fights. They're always exciting. They're always scrambly. Always guys getting hit, getting taken down, getting submission attempts. Don't miss it.
I agree there. Looking forward to that one. And I just want to get some fans to get to know you a little bit more than
Yeah.
your fighting career. Like everyone knows that your brother, TriStar, the coach there, but how did you yourself get into MMA and become inspired by it?
Well, the main reason why I started training was I was going to high school. When I was going to high school, my I was so tiny. I was 5 foot flat. Okay, and I weighed maybe 125 pounds, 130 pounds wet. Okay, I was skinny, skinny, and very small. So my dad was worried that I would get bullied in high school because of my stature. I didn't hit my growth spurt in the sixth grade. I'm a kind of a little bit of a late bloomer, so that's like when the school year ended for sixth grade. My dad told my brothers like start taking Aiemann to train with you at TriStar because I wanted to get ready for when high school starts. So I started my training that summer. Started going like once or twice a week, and I started with Muay Thai, and I really enjoyed it. And then I was like, for us, like "Okay, we should do jujitsu. So I started learning jujitsu a little bit, but jujitsu was a lot harder because at the time, the only guys doing jujitsu were like guys between the ages of 20 and 25, and they're all bigger, taller, man size. I'm tiny. So nobody really wanted to train with me all that much, and I totally understand because they were competing at the time too. So it was mostly like Faraz training with me and doing the reps with me, and like he would ask other guys to roll with me, but they weren't super excited about it because it was kind of a waste of a round for them, and they're just letting me work and all this stuff. So, but I started getting really good after a year, and then in the year after that, I got even better. And like because Frost was the one doing all the reps with me and rolling with me most of the time, I got better faster than these other guys. And then through my high school years, more and more teenagers started slowly coming to the classes, so I had better partners and things like that. And then I just fell in love with it. By the time I was 16, I started replacing my brother for teaching jiu-jitsu, teaching Muay Thai whenever he'd fly out of town. And by the time I was like 18 years old, I was cornering UFC fighters. And then when I got to university, I was cornering a bunch of UFC fighters and other local fighters. And I told my brother at 21 years old, I'm like, if I'm coaching these guys, why don't I try to go pro? And how about this? We make a deal. I was like, okay, what's your plan? I'm like, I leave university now at 21 years old, and if I don't make it to the UFC by 30, I'll quit MMA and I'll go back to school because university is always going to be there. I want to be an accountant. I was pretty good at math, back then and stuff like that. So he's like, okay. He's like, if you don't make it by 30, we send you back to school. I said, perfect. I signed with the UFC at 29 years old and then I never went back to school, man. So I was really
Oh,
happy with that.
that's amazing. So yeah, you
Thanks.
met your goal right there. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
And
I just made it, guys.
yeah, I just made
Just made it.
it.
Yeah.
And do you think because you have that experience coordinating, do you see yourself following in down that path and maybe coaching and being a quarterman full time after your career?
Yeah, definitely. So like for me, I'm really happy now that I made it in the top 10 and like I've had such a good win streak near the end of my career. I have a few years left, but like when I retire, I would love to be, for us as assistant coach, be his right hand man and help develop the next generation of TriStar guys, of course, and try to like, you know, bring a new life to Canadian MMA. I would love to be a part of that with my brother, and also like part of my retirement plan, I want to work with like Sportsnet or ESPN or whoever's covering UFC. I'd love to do gigs like that, be a sport analyst, because I feel like I can bring that. I can speak about what it is, what it takes to get in there, how to stay in there. Even coach the guys through broadcasting. Tell them their strengths, their weaknesses as I'm commentating the fights. When they go back, they can watch it and listen and be like, oh wait, this guy's got some good points or whatever. So like I kind of want to give back to the community in a way.
That's great. And another one, I like to ask some of the fighters that come on, are you a fan of any other sports besides fighting?
I used to be a big fan of football. I love the strategy behind football, but I haven't been watching recently that much because I'm like so devoted to making it at the top. So I haven't been watching any other sports recently, but I used to be a hardcore Raiders fan, and that's pretty much my favorite sport outside of fighting sports. My next favorite sport is probably boxing now. So it's like MMA and boxing mostly right now. But before I used to be obsessed with football.
And one final one here. You're a fighter now that's coming up and having this nice run in the UFC. So if you were to see yourself that you mentioned in university and
Yeah.
he would to come in a room and see you, this established version that's a top 10 in the UFC in
Yeah.
the title picture and ask for advice, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Yeah, I tell them, listen, follow your dream at whatever cost, because no matter how hard it seems or how far away it is, once you achieve it, it'll all be worth the pain and sacrifice. Endure all the pain, because doing what you love is priceless. Doesn't matter how much you make, it's all about doing what you want every day. And that's why I have so much gratitude for being in my position, because I paid heavy price to be here. So like when people tell me, oh, your age, I don't put that limitation on myself. I'm living my dream. And I endured all the pain to make it here, even at this age. So I'm gonna soak it all up. And I feel bad for those who gave up on their dreams at 29, at 30, at 35, and they turned their backs on it just to make a paycheck. It is much worse to do that than to make it late. I'd rather you make it at 40, 45, whatever it is your dream. If it's to be a lawyer, a doctor, an electrician, whatever it is you want to make it, it's better to just tough it out. It's worth it in the end.
Advice. And before we wrap up here, Amen, and let you go, how
Yeah.
can our viewers here and listeners at the Game Plan and at sportsboom.com stay up to date with everything you're doing and follow you on social media?
Guys, obviously Instagram is the place where I post the most, but now I'm really working on my YouTube. So you can check me out at AiemannZahabi official on YouTube. I'm putting up much more vlogs, fight week, training camp vlogs, vacation vlogs, and you get to know a lot more about my day-to-day life outside of fighting as well as inside of fighting. So guys, please give me a follow on YouTube.
Really recommend that follow. And Eamon, I greatly appreciate you sharing your time and coming on here. And I wish you all the best and hope to see you fight for that title next year.
Perfect. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me on.